Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Brotherly Love in the District. Tristan here, along with Jacob. And Jacob, you want to go ahead and tell them what we're getting into?
So this week in football, it was obviously all the wild card matchups happened this week, and we are going to do our season awards for the NFL. This is just regular season. Going on to hockey, the Caps get back in the win column while the Flyers still struggle. And in baseball, a big announcement happened as to the home stadium of the Tampa Bay Rays. So let's get right into it.
All right, so we'll start out. Oh, this is brutal. We'll start out talking about the Eagles game because obviously they made the playoffs surprisingly, as they weren't even projected to make the playoffs this season. So that was a big surprise. And overall, so I had two views going into this game. I obviously picked them to win. I think they had a good shot at winning. I don't think they executed well enough. And
No, you didn't run the ball near enough.
they didn't really have a choice to run the ball. I mean, what it came down to was the Bucs defense. Like, they have a elite front seven when they're all healthy, and the thing that the Eagles had to look forward to is the fact that they weren't healthy. Levante David was questionable. Shaq Barrett was questionable. Their Jamel Dean, one of their starting corners, he was questionable. They and JPP was questionable. Like, they had a lot of players who were just kind of iffy on if they were going to play. And what really tore them down was the fact that they all ended up playing. So overall, that really tore down the Eagles offense, and they showed that they were a better defense than the Eagles had an offense. Uh, I don't, I think one of the biggest misconceptions there after that game was the fact that Jalen Hurts needs to be dealt away. I think uh, overall this season, he played, I think he played decent. He was, if you look at the fact that he was considered an early pick for where he was picked in the second round. He was considered early, and he's a raw quarterback. He still needs to fix his mechanics. He's got stuff he still needs to do. But overall, after they switched from trying to make him throw 40 passes a game and put the team on his back, and they started to switch to the run more, he started playing better. And you saw him convert on big plays when he needed to throughout the season. And overall, once it got down to the playoffs, they just weren't playing those same dull teams that they played to get into the playoffs. I think some of their best games came in the middle of the season against like Denver, against the Chargers. That was their bet against the Saints. Those were their best football games. If you look at it, their schedule kind of hurt them more than it helped, because in the first 7 games, they just played rough teams. I believe all of them were playoff teams. If not all of them, then like 5 of 7 of them were all playoff teams. And so they kind of got dealt a bad hand schedule wise. In the center was really like their measuring stick games. Once they started to figure out their offense and they played some decent teams, they played Denver, the Chargers, and the Saints. Those 3 games were really what kind of showed what the team could be. And then the last stretch, they just had nothing but weak teams. The Giants twice, Washington twice, the Jets, and then the Cowboys, they didn't even play their starters. So I think overall that I think if their schedule was flipped, they would have had a little bit better of a measurement on where their team should have been, whether it should have been in the playoffs or not. But overall, I think Jalen Hurts still played well, even though he didn't win the game, and he got his trash time touchdowns like they did earlier in the season. I don't think it's a terrible team. And Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni have both said that he has done more than enough to be considered the starting quarterback next season. And Howie Roseman said he won't be drafting a quarterback in the offseason. I don't know if there's still talk of him possibly going after like Russell Wilson or something, but Jalen Hurts looks to be the top choice at quarterback 1 right now, which I'm excited for, because as a Philadelphia fan, I'm kind of tired of this quarterback carousel where they can't find out who they want to start, and it's honestly just hurting the team more than it's helping.
Yeah, I think he's done enough, and he's shown enough improvement to say that he should come back for another year. I think next year could be a big year if he doesn't show massive throwing improvements. And this is also on the Eagles. If you don't get him another good wide receiver, then Jalen Hurts is gonna struggle in his throwing. So I definitely think he needs to show improvement. I think he's done enough to win the starting job for next year, but next year I think will be a big year for the team. And going on the game, I just didn't think you could get your game plan going for them in order to win.
I think he missed a couple throws too.
Yeah, in order for them to win, I thought they needed to score the ball first in a long, nice first drive, and then always have Tampa Bay playing behind and having your offense trying to really grind out those long drives, even if some of them didn't end in touchdowns, just take away the clock, force Brady to kind of pick things up with an injured offense, but that did not happen. The shoe was on the other foot.
I think what really killed the team was they got a big stop against the Bucs. So they let in the first 2 touchdowns. I believe they let in points on the first 3 drives. And they finally got a stop on defense. And then, they allowed scores on the first 2 drives. And then they got a stop. And then Jalen Reagor muffed the punt. And then they were right back in field goal position. That's what it was. And I think that just totally changed the game. I think if Jalen Reagor was able to hold on to that punt and they were actually to start and they had some momentum going from getting a big defensive stop after Tom Brady was just doing long drives down the field on the defense, that was huge for him. And I think Jalen Reagor just kind of killed that vibe at muffing the punt. This is also a post that I saw. Per Eagles GM Howie Roseman, Jalen Hurts has earned his place as Eagles QB1 for the 2022 season. Roseman wanted Hurts to, quote, take the bull by the horns. And he did just that. Roseman is also going to surround Hurts with the best players possible. Any rumor or thought of the Eagles going after a quarterback this offseason has been shut down by Roseman himself. With this news, this is just an outside source. With this news, I'd expect the Eagles to go all in on surrounding Hurts with playmakers. Guys like Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, and Calvin Ridley are all intriguing and possible options.
Yeah, and you do have 3 first-round draft picks. I think in that you should draft an offensive player and then go 2 defensive because there's massive holes in your defense.
The defense is what I'm worried about the most.
Yeah, your defensive line is aging. Your linebacker core is non-existent, and Darius Slay, he's a one-man secondary pretty much. So you do have a lot of holes that I think you do need to fill.
You know what is this will kind of be a little because next week we're going to do the team awards, like same thing that we're doing this year a little bit, but just for the team. And this is a little insight on who one of my players will be. Milton Williams, he was a 3rd-round draft pick this year from Louisiana Tech, and there was a big debate on whether he was the guy who wanted to be picked. There was a video that went viral where I'm not exactly sure who it was, but one guy in the front office was going around. I think it was Howie Roseman going around high-fiving people, and he walked up to one of the other up higher guys and he went to give him a high five and the guy just looking at him like, are you serious? This is a terrible pick. And Milton Williams, once they started giving him some playing time, he was starting to wreak havoc. He was starting to get in the backfield and cause a couple issues in the backfield. And I saw something where they said that now in no way, shape, or form am I comparing these 2 players, because it is, first off, it's way too early to compare these players. And the second player is arguably one of the best defensive players in NFL history. But I saw something where they were saying that Milton Williams has the type of power, and not the type of power, but the type of game that Aaron Donald does. Again, I'm not comparing those 2 because Aaron Donald is a freak of nature.
So you're saying that
even
saying he's better than Aaron Donald, Tristan.
Even if you are 80% of what Aaron Donald is,
even if you're like 60, you'd be happy.
Exactly. Like that is still an elite pass rusher and an elite defensive lineman. So I think that's a big compliment towards Milton Williams. And I'm really excited to see what he does, because especially with the questionable future of Fletcher Cox in Philly. So that could be
Fletcher Cox I think he's gonna leave at this point.
I don't think it's going to be him leaving. I think it's going to be him getting kicked out because he's kind of got a heavy
It's gonna be
contract.
one of those two. Yeah,
I
he's
don't think
not
I
gonna
don't
be
think he
playing
wants
for
to
the
leave.
team.
I believe that Fletcher Cox loves Philadelphia. I don't think he wants to leave, but it's a matter of his contract, and that's a big issue.
Yeah, he wants to play there, but if I was the Eagles front office, I just don't think it would make much sense to hold on to him.
And also with the end of the Eagles season from losing to the Bucs, I have our end of season results. We did miss, I believe it was 1 or 2 weeks where we didn't guess games. So it's not perfect, but I have our end of season record.
Oh my gosh.
And after starting out like way behind me, you did end up coming up and you ended the season 20-10, and I ended up 19-11.
Yes, I actually won something.
It was close. It was close.
Actually, once, unlike in our fantasy league, where I'm pretty sure I was dead last in our fantasy league because I lost all the loser bracket games. I didn't even make the playoffs, and then I lost all the loser bracket games.
So that's the end of that.
And I went 2 for 4 in wild card game pickings this week.
Did you? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to go into the playoffs a little bit. So the Bengals beat the Raiders, which I expected.
Yeah, that wasn't like none of the games you could say were really that close, except for the Cowboys game.
Did you see the which I still don't think that was as close. I can't wait to talk about the Cowboys game. The Cowboys game is going to be a fun game.
I felt like the 49ers were actively trying to lose that game in the last 10 minutes. I honestly thought they were going to.
Going back to the Bengals game for a sec, the only real thing that I have to say about that was, did you see that controversial play? First off, Joe Burrow has shown that he is going to be an absolute stud, especially with Jamar Chase. But Jamar Chase wasn't on the other end of this play, where Joe Burrow is running to his left, and as he's running out, his foot is about a yard.
Oh yeah, and then he throws it, and it's a touchdown.
What do you think there? I think that they can't, you can't blow that dead. He threw the ball.
I think it was a good call to call that a touchdown.
Yes, I
know a lot of people are mad about that. I was discussing that with my dad, and that play didn't clock at the time, but I think it was a good call to have it be a touchdown. I think it was blown dead too early by the official.
But that game was weird. That was just field goals and field goals and field goals. I thought for sure that was going to be a touchdown scoring game, at least for the Bengals. But that did not end up the way that I thought it would.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs had a really great game. I'm surprised they didn't give him the ball more, considering Derek Carr threw the ball 54 times. Josh Jacobs had 13 carries for 83 yards.
They were also playing from behind the entire
6.4. I know they were playing behind the entire time, but still looking at the numbers and seeing that Carr threw the ball 54 times, I'm surprised they didn't give him the ball more.
I want to go to Wild Card Weekend. Next was the Bills and Patriots game.
That wasn't even close.
Yeah, Bills are the first team in Super Bowl era to have a perfect game. They had 7 possessions, 7 touchdowns, no field goals, no turnovers, no punts, 7 drives, 7 touchdowns. That's impressive. Yeah, they made the Patriots look stupid.
I felt like the big thing coming into this game was the weather and the fact that it was going to be cold and windy. And they said, heard a lot of people saying, if Josh Allen can't get his throws going, I don't think the run game will be able to do anything, which both of those things were proven to be wrong because Josh Allen had a very efficient game, 21 for 25. 308 yards for 5 touchdowns, and rushing, Devin Singletary had 16 carries for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. Josh Allen, 6 carries for 66 yards. It was
Devin Singletary's come on lately.
Yeah, it was a total domination by the Bills. I mean, Mac Jones threw 2 picks. I mean, the Patriots, they don't have a lot of offensive weapons, and Mac Jones, I think they found a decent quarterback for the future, but nowhere near close to the Bills.
Next was the Eagles Bucs game, which we just talked about. 31-15 win for the Bucs.
And our favorite team, coming up
The
next.
49ers and the Cowboys game. This game was so fun to watch.
It was fun, but like I said, I felt
It was
like
nerve-wracking.
actively trying to lose.
By the end of the game, I was more invested in this game than I was in the Eagles game because the Eagles went down 17-0, and there was just not.
Yeah.
I was more
invested in Tony Romo's commentary than I was the Eagles game.
I didn't even realize who was commentating any game. I was just watching.
Tony Romo.
I was just so focused on the football.
First off, Jimmy G threw a terrible pick in the fourth quarter. I don't know what that
was. A terrible throw.
And he missed Deebo Samuel when Deebo Samuel absolutely burned Trayvon Diggs.
I want to see, which I knew they had no one to cover Deebo. Deebo is a maniac. And let's see. If you recall, I think I said it to you, but I said if Deebo Samuel has at least 10 touches, they would win this game. He had 13.
Yeah.
And they won. Deebo Samuel is such a difference maker. He rushed for 72 yards on 10 carries and then caught the ball for another 3 receptions for 38 yards.
The reason I thought the Cowboys were going to win is because I thought they were too reliant on Deebo Samuel and that they'd be able to contain him, because I thought the 49ers offense isn't very complex. I didn't think it was complex in the fact that they have very many weapons. I think they were very not simple in terms of their play calling, because Shanahan always calls really ridiculous plays, but I just thought they didn't have enough weapons, and I thought the Cowboys defense with especially with Micah Parsons would have been able to shut that down, but the Cowboys defense couldn't do a lot this game.
I think you saw at the end of the game where the 49ers started to struggle with trying to move the ball a little bit because they started to run out of options.
Once the Cowboys picked up on it and Jimmy Garoppolo started to throw some really bad balls, I think the Cowboys defense was really able to shut him down. But I don't think the offense was given enough time, and I don't remember who was the one who missed the catch, but on a 4th down, Dak threw a decent throw, running out of the pocket, and it went through a receiver's hands.
Are you talking about the one where he just bombed it down the field?
Yeah, when it was a 4th down and he was getting pressured and the wide receiver was falling down, but it went through his hands.
Yeah, it's because he was all of his momentum was going that way. And the fact that he still got his body right and at least had a chance to catch it was pretty impressive. But yeah, that was Cedric Wilson who couldn't haul that in.
Yeah.
And then how about the fact
Cowboys the game?
And then the game-ending play. This was another kind of controversial one, which, I mean, it's really only controversial when you talk to Cowboys fans about it. Dak Prescott with 14 seconds left, running the ball right down the middle of the field with no timeouts left. And instead of giving the ball to the ref, where a ref has to touch the ball in between each play, gives it to his center, and they start freaking out on the refs.
But even
that was just a dumb play.
I heard a lot of Cowboys fans talking about how the ref was far behind the field. Even if the ref was in the right position, I still think time would have expired. Dak should have counted in his head, all right, I should be running for a maximum of 3 seconds. That's it.
And also, if you look at it, he ran 20 yards downfield. They were at the 20-yard line. What is 10 yards does make a big difference. But if he sits down about 10 yards prior, if he just gets that first down, it was a 4th and inches. So you get that first down, then you should sit and give your team a chance. 20 yards downfield for 5 250-pound plus men trying to get downfield so that they can block for you. That's
and the
not
ref,
exactly.
And
yeah,
the linedsmen to be able to get upfield.
You're putting a lot more factors into it the further you run down the field. So,
I don't disagree with the play call because
it wasn't a bad play call.
Yeah, if he just had,
it was just bad play awareness by Dak.
Yeah, if he just counted in his head for a few seconds, went down once he got past the first down, clocked it, you maybe would have been able to have the chance to do 2 Hail Marys. That would have put them in a good position. Then we'd be saying it's a great play call. But I think the biggest story of this game was the Cowboys penalties. Their discipline.
Oh my gosh, they had 14.
Terrible.
Yeah,
Randy
14.
Gregory, I think on one of the plays, he just tackled one of the offensive linemen for
Yeah,
no reason
and
whatsoever.
all their penalties came at terrible times too, because
Yeah,
they
they
were
came at crucial points. It's not like it was in the early stages or middle stages of the game. It seemed like all of them came at the end of the game when it was a third or fourth down where they needed to get a stop or needed to get a first down.
yeah, I mean that they were crucial penalties at crucial points in the game.
And I think this shows on Mike McCarthy because the team led the league in penalties, I believe. I think it shows a lack of discipline from the players and possibly a lack of respect from Mike McCarthy because, like, I was listening to Undisputed this morning. They're talking about how the 90s Cowboys committed so few penalties because they feared Jimmy Johnson so much, because Jimmy Johnson would make it clear if you're committing a lot of penalties, then we might need to look for another player your position because you're not doing your job correctly. So it's just bad situation.
I think Mike McCarthy's kind of on the hot seat now. He has interviews with Jerry Jones, and I saw something yesterday where he was saying, he's like, I know how to win in this league. I don't know that you showed that in that game. I mean,
I disagree with that because even in Green Bay, I didn't think he was a good coach. We've seen all the blunders he had with Green Bay. The fact that for a lot of years, people thought they had the best team in the league and they would lose constantly in division and championship games. I just don't think Mike McCarthy is a very good coach. I don't think he'll be able to take a team to the next level again.
going on to the next game. This is another game that we don't really have to talk about. Chiefs Steelers. What surprised me was the fact that there was 10 minutes left in the second quarter and it was 7-0 Steelers. That is about the peak of excitement in this game.
Yeah, I can't believe I picked them to win.
That it was an absolute demolition derby, and
it was looking good in the early stages
because the Chiefs ran out of fireworks again.
Yeah, I thought it was going good when TJ Watt got that touchdown. I'm like, that's what you need to do. But Deontay Johnson kept dropping balls. They couldn't get the run game going. Nothing.
And then this is the second time in the playoffs. Do you remember a couple years ago when the Chiefs were down 24-0 and they ended up scoring like 50 points against the Texans? They ran out of fireworks in that game, and they did in this game too.
I saw that picture. I honestly thought it was a joke because I saw it on an NFL meme page, and I saw it somewhere else. I'm like, that's actually real.
Yes.
And I found that quite funny.
This next game, I think the score makes it look a little less appealing than it actually was. 34-11 win for the Rams. I still think it was a pretty decent game.
I think it was a complete routing.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Rams just took over the game from the start. But I think towards the end, the Cardinals started to piece some things together. They have a lot to work on, obviously. But at the beginning, the defense was standing tall a little bit for them. But yeah, overall, the Rams did end up just cleaning house, and they took advantage of the Cardinals' inexperience in the playoffs.
Yeah, Kyler Murray played horrible. 2 picks, less than 200 yards. There are some things that they certainly need to work on in the offseason.
Now going into divisional weekend, I believe I only missed one game in that round, which was
I missed 2 or 3. And what I didn't realize with the division, it's like it's a little weird how they do the matchups. It depends on seeding, and I don't think either of us realized that. I think we had
I had mine properly done for seeding. I think I got yours too while you were going through.
Yeah, maybe, but I just didn't realize that. But divisional, I think that I need to look at the games. But
it's the Bengals. So the first game is Bengals Titans, which I
think even if they don't have Derrick Henry, I think the Titans are still going to win. I think overall they're a better, more experienced team.
So something I saw this morning was that Jamar Chase in the league, he was 20th in receptions in the league, and the Titans are 30th in giving up receptions. I believe he was 4th in receiving yards in the league. The Titans were, I believe, 30th again, and then he was like tied 3rd for receiving touchdowns in the league, and the Titans were 28th for giving up receiving touchdowns.
Yeah, but the Raiders defense isn't that great either, and they didn't really throw the ball all over them. So I think the experience of the Titans team is going to win out, even though, like, on paper it might not look as well. But
And it looks like Derrick Henry is going to be returning too,
yeah,
which
and
I think is a game changer.
I think that's a game changer because I think the Titans are really going to be able to, like, grind out drives and keep the ball out of the Bengals offense.
Yeah, so if Derrick Henry plays, I'm taking the Titans in that game.
Yeah, and then the other matchup in the AFC, this could be like a Super Bowl matchup.
Yeah, I think this is whoever wins this game is going to the Super Bowl, honestly.
Yeah, it's going to be Chiefs and Bills, and I believe it's a rematch of.
It's a rematch of last year. And
yeah,
5 of
that's going to be. I think that's going to be the best game out of the division, followed closely by the Rams and Bucs game.
Yeah, I think that. So Aaron Rodgers is actually 0 for 3 against the 49ers in his career in the postseason. I still don't think that the 49ers team even remotely matches up to the Packers team. So I think the Packers are going to easily win that one.
Yeah, and I know, like, the 49ers were saying that Jimmy G, he's the quarterback of the future, but I don't think they'll be able to succeed with him under the center because I just don't think he's good enough to really propel a team.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a great arm.
No, and you saw the throws he made in Dallas. Some of those were pretty bad, like wide open throws that he should have been able to easily make.
Rams and Bucs is going to be a good game, like you said.
This could be a matchup for who's going to the Super Bowl for the NFC as well.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but I think as long as the Packers win, I think they have a shot at beating whichever team wins this game. But
they have a shot, but I just have a feeling they're going to pull a Packers.
Like the Cowboys pulling the Cowboys?
Yeah, the Packers are going to pull a Packers. They're going to lose a later stage playoff game.
I still think the Rams are going to win it. I think the Rams proved overall in that game against the Cardinals that they made some good moves in the season, and
Odell for a while had more passing yards than Kyler Murray did for a little bit there in the game.
I think I'm going to double check this because I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that Odell had more touchdowns on the Rams. Let's see. He had 5 touchdowns on the Rams. Stats. I don't know where I saw it, but I guess it was a flub. But I thought I saw something that said he had more receiving touchdowns with the Rams than Baker Mayfield had passing touchdowns on the season. Which that would be terrible. I thought he was like horrible. I thought he was like 8 and 7, but yeah, that was.
How many touchdowns does Baker Mayfield have?
17. He went 17 and 13 touchdown interception ratio.
That's not good.
No.
Taylor Heineke has a better ratio than that.
And then the last game, the Bills Chiefs. I think this is the AFC representative for the Super Bowl. It's going to be a good game. But Josh Allen has yet to win a playoff game on the road. So that's going to be interesting. But I still think it's going to be a good game. I mean, that last time they met was week 5 and the Chiefs lost 38-10 to the Bills in Arrowhead. And it's hard to beat a team twice in the season.
It is hard, but I think the Bills are capable of doing it considering they have a lot of confidence getting that Patriots monkey off their back.
I'm trying to think. So it's gonna be hard because the Bills don't have Tre'Davious White, their number 1 cornerback. So it really is kind of all leaning on their safeties and what they can do, what they can handle.
And if they can pressure Mahomes, I mean, we saw that the Chiefs offensive line still isn't good. I mean, that's not going to change this season. So
the Bills also
him, then they have a chance.
The Bills also have to take advantage of the lack of defense of the Chiefs. They improved, but they're still not an elite defense.
And both of them are coming off of relatively easy games, so it should be interesting to see if one of them starts slowly.
I think that the Patriots were a harder matchup than the Steelers then.
Yeah.
Did you see that interview? Ben Roethlisberger didn't even think they belonged there. Like, he
No,
was like,
I didn't see that.
he's like, yeah, we're in the playoffs, but we don't belong here. He's like, we're just gonna go out and have fun because there's really no way that we're gonna win. Like, that goes to show that you have no faith in your team, and I think that kind of killed the Steelers. So,
Yeah.
And that'll finish up the divisional round, and we can move on to our season awards. So we'll start out with MVP. I think this is kind of an easy one.
Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp. I mean, he got the Triple Crown, had over 1,900 yards receiving, had over 140 receptions, 130 receptions, because the record was Michael Thomas with 140. And
I think it's about time the league shakes this quarterback bias when it comes to the MVP. Because you can even argue last year that Derrick Henry deserved it over Josh Allen. So
yeah,
I think I would like to see somebody else other than a quarterback win it.
Offensive Player of the Year. Theoretically, it should be Cooper Kupp since he's winning MVP. I'm going to change it just because I don't want him to get both. I just want to say something different. I think Cooper Kupp will probably end up getting it if he wins MVP. Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Because I think that he showed that the team was leaning on him throughout the season, especially in Carson Wentz's struggles. So I think I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor there. Defensive Player of the Year. This one's interesting, and I didn't really think about this. They're coming out to think of it. I can't really think of one standout defensive player. Actually, yeah, I can.
For me, it's TJ Watt. It has to be TJ Watt. I know. I think Micah Parsons was starting to really lead the charge, and then TJ Watt came out of nowhere when he had that 5-sack game, and then he tied Strahan's record. And people are saying, yes, it's a 17-game season, but he did it in 15 games.
Yeah, because he was injured.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
so for me, it has to be
TJ Watt.
It has to be TJ Watt. It's nobody else. It's not Trey. It's not
Trayvon Diggs shouldn't even be in
Trayvon Diggs.
He doesn't even. If you're talking about sniff the level of play that
talking about who had a better defensive season as a defensive back, Darius Slay had a better season.
Yeah,
he had a better season.
Trayvon Diggs doesn't even sniff the level that Micah Parsons and TJ Watt played at.
Yes, he has a lot of interceptions, but you ever think of why he had so many opportunities to get an interception?
Target him a lot
because he let over 1,000 yards to wide receivers.
Offensive Rookie of the Year. This one is interesting.
I have Jamar Chase. For me,
I also have Jamar Chase.
I can't give it to anybody else.
But this is where your quarterback bias comes in, and I could also see Mac Jones getting it.
No way Mac Jones should get it because that's a running offense, and Jamar Chase has had one of the best.
I agree. He had 1,400 yards receiving. That's the most.
That's one of the best rookie wide receiving years we've seen in a long, long time. He had 13 touchdowns.
Yeah, so I think Jamar Chase should win it, but like you said, there's a quarterback bias. He's also a Patriot, so I could see Mac Jones getting the nod, even though Jamar Chase should win it way above Mac Jones.
Yeah, and like Jamar Chase had one of the best rookie games in a rookie season against Kansas City. He had 266 yards with 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's like that Randy Moss stat line. 3 receptions, 163 yards and 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns. That is one of the craziest wide receiver stat lines I think you'll ever see. 3 receptions.
Imagine having Randy Moss in fantasy that year.
Imagine having Randy Moss and missing the playoffs.
Jeez, that's the Vikings.
The Vikings did that a few times.
Defensive Rookie of the Year. This is a no-brainer. Head and shoulders above anyone else. Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I think he's he could be what LeVar Arrington was supposed to be, just an athletic freak. If he can stay healthy, he'll be one of the best linebackers in the league for the coming year.
This one's an interesting one. The coach of the year.
This is difficult for me.
It is really difficult. Honestly, I'm gonna pick three finalists, and then I'll tell you what my last one is. Mike Vrabel, because after he lost Derrick Henry, who is an MVP caliber running back, he still somehow took the team and they were still able to clinch the number 1 seed in the AFC. They still played at a top tier level, even without their best running back and their biggest piece on the offense. Zach Taylor of the Bengals. They went, what was their record last year? What was the Bengals record last year?
It was bad.
Yeah,
frankly, I thought they were going to be bad this year. I said at the beginning of the season, I thought they had no offensive line, but yeah, they went 4-11-1 last year, which is abysmal.
4-11-1 to 10-7 with a single new piece in Jamar Chase.
And one of the most exciting young offenses in the league.
Yeah, I Zach Taylor's up there. And then one for the NFC, I'm going to go with Matt LaFleur. Or, yeah, I'd go Matt LaFleur. I would have put Cliff Kingsbury up there, the head coach of the Cardinals. But the reason I don't have him up there is because he went from 7-0 to, I believe they finished 12-5. They dropped exponentially. So that's the reason Cliff Kingsbury isn't up there.
And about Matt LaFleur, you want to know where he was in 2013 alongside Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan?
Who? Where?
Washington. We went 3-13 with 3 of the top coaches in the league right now.
Did you see Tom Brady is older than every remaining coach in the NFC in the playoffs?
That's insane.
Except for Bruce Arians. Every opposing coach left in the NFC.
He's been playing longer than we've been alive, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's been playing for 20 seasons, I believe.
Yeah, that's 1 season older than us.
Yeah, so
that's insane.
Coach of the year?
For me, yeah, my coach of the year is Zach Taylor, considering how bad they were last year. Like a single year's difference, he's done an amazing job.
Since you're going with Zach Taylor, I'm gonna go the opposite way, and I'm gonna say Mike Vrabel, just because you picked Zach Taylor. We identified like how good he did, so I'm gonna go with Mike Vrabel because of what he did with his biggest team weapon missing.
Yeah, he did a great job of really rallying the team.
And then this is kind of an interesting one. This obviously isn't neither of them are awards, but they're just fun to talk about. Your best overall team on the season. What should be the Packers. I am changing, and I'm going to say the Chiefs because they started out terrible. Patrick Mahomes was not having a great season, and they hit a point to where they hit a point in the season where they just totally flipped the script and they started playing out of their minds. I can't think of the defensive coordinators, Spagnuolo for the Chiefs. He totally flipped the way his defense was run, and they changed the defense, and they actually started winning games. So I'm saying the Chiefs as my best team for the season.
I'm saying Rams because if you look at their pickups that they were able to make, they were able to get Von Miller. They were able to get Odell Beckham Jr., who seems like he's reinvigorated his career coming off of really bad years. And Cleveland, and even towards the end of his career in New York, things were starting to take a turn for the worse. So I'm going to go with the Rams. If you look at it, they have so much experience. And I think if you're looking at it on paper, I think they have the best chance of going deep into the playoffs because the amount of experience they have mixed with the amount of exciting young players they have.
Yeah, the Rams is a good pick. I should have picked them, but I still think the Chiefs, just the fact that they totally flipped the script shows that they have something. This one I'm interested to see, and I think that we have two totally different answers.
Right.
So Jacob said that we should go with who was the worst team, like, and who has the least to look forward to, which I think makes it totally interesting. This obviously is an award given at the end of the season, but this is
It'd be funny if it was though.
this is something to look forward to. I want to hear who yours team is first, because I think mine's totally different.
I'm going with the Jaguars because if you look at the season they have, it's been a mess. If like looking at the whole Urban Meyer situation, it like in the beginning of the year, that video he had where he was getting an adult dance in a bar with a lady that was
Female.
Yeah, a female that was in
he was
college.
doing certain activities and
he's married, and then the reports came out of him injuring his kicker Josh Lambo, and the fact that Trevor Lawrence hasn't played good at all. Like there's very few upsides besides maybe that Indianapolis game. I just think they're a mess considering that the whole Urban Meyer thing was a horrible experience, and the whole Tim Tebow thing that was in preseason, that didn't pan out. I just think everything that they touched turned to crap this season.
I thought for sure you were going to go with the Lions or the Jaguars. I'm going a totally different direction.
Are you going with Jets?
Nope.
Raiders.
Because something that we also said was has the least to look forward to. I think the Jaguars still have a somewhat bright future. Miles Jack is still on the defense there. He's still playing good. Trevor Lawrence, this was his rookie year. He didn't have a good coach. He doesn't really have any good receivers. So I still don't think they have anything terrible to look forward to. I'm going with the Texans.
The Texans.
Because not only did they have a terrible season, they don't have a quarterback right now. David Mills.
They're not going to have one in the future either because Deshaun Watson's gone.
Exactly. Deshaun Watson looks like he's not going to be in Houston anymore. David Mills showed sparks of playing to a certain level that could be decent. Like, I feel like David Mills is a Taylor Heineke, where he can win some games if you need him to, but he's not going to do anything more than that. Yeah. So I don't think that they have much to look forward to. Their defense didn't show it. I couldn't even name one player on their defense right now. So that their defense is just terrible. Their offense has no real firepower. Their best offensive player right now is Brandon Cooks, and he didn't have a great season. So I'm definitely going with the Texans there.
For me, my honorable mention would have to be the Giants. Because
the Giants were quite disappointing.
And if you look at it, Saquon Barkley, if I was him, I would leave New York because it'd be in the best interest for my career to get the heck out of New York because they've shown no interest in helping with the offensive line. Their offense can't really do a thing, even when they have Danny Dimes. Their defense isn't much better. I mean, they're the worst team in the worst division.
Yeah, so, I mean, theoretically, they are the worst team in the league. I believe that's it for the NFL. We went over our season awards. Mm-hmm. I believe it is time now to go over to the NHL, where I really don't think we should go over to.
Well, let's start with the Caps. Let's start with positive. I think we played 3 games since we last had the podcast. A 2-0 win and over the Islanders, which is a good win. A 4-2 loss to our former coach, Bruce Boudreau, which I hate losing, but I'm happy to see Bruce winning. Since we've won the Cup, I've been able to look back more fondly on the time he was at the team. We had some really fun teams when he was here, and then we had a great come from behind win against the Jets. We were down 2-0, and we came back to win it in OT. So we're starting to get a little bit of our form back. And Ovi is now leading the league in goals.
He's looking for that 10th Rocket Richard.
Yeah, and I hope he ends up. Well, right now he's leading the league in overall points as well. He's 1 over Leon Draisaitl and 2 over McDavid.
So, going over the Flyers, since we last recorded, they have played the Rangers and 2 games against the Islanders. They played in a really good game against the Rangers, 3-2. But the issue, I was listening to this game and this hurt so bad because as I was listening, the Flyers had just scored. Cam York scored his first NHL goal, which he looks like he's going to be a stud in the NHL. I'm excited that he's going to be up there for a while. I don't think he's going to be getting sent back down. He looks like he's going to be.
At this point, you just need to keep him up to get him experience. You're not going to win anything.
So, yeah, I don't see him leaving to go back down to the AHL anytime soon. But I'm listening to this game. Cam York scores his first NHL goal, and that was to take the lead 2-1. And right after that, the announcers were just talking about like the Rangers offense and how good it is. And they're like, one of the pieces that you really haven't heard much from tonight is Chris Kreider. He's their biggest goal scorer. Less than 30 seconds later, Adam Fox shoots a puck from the point and it bounces off Chris Kreider and goes in the net. I was like,
about a commentator's curse.
What are you doing? Like, it was his fault. I think it was his fault. He shouldn't have said anything. That was terrible.
Like it was my fault that the Eagles lost because I picked them. It's his fault that Kreider scored.
Exactly. I was like, what are you doing? Like, you never say that. What is going on? So yeah, Chris Kreider scored. They ended up winning that game. Oh my, that was brutal. That hurt my soul because I was like, if the Flyers come out and they beat the Rangers in like a damaged situation, this could fend really well for the team. And then it was terrible.
But in one of the 2 games against the Islanders, he got a point. He lost in a shootout.
Yeah,
so
I was getting there. They lost 4-1 against the Islanders in the new Islanders Stadium, and then they lost in a shootout. They went 0-9.
Oof.
First off, that sounds like a terrible shootout to begin with. But
that sounds horrible.
But they ended up losing in the shootout 4-3. But I mean, 1 point they're getting to the point where they need to start winning in regulation against Eastern Conference teams.
Which, if you think about it, I don't think they can do that.
They're now on a 9-game losing streak. They play Columbus tonight, which they need to take advantage.
They need to win. If they don't win this, then I think it's a wrap that Drew's gone. If they lose tonight, then I think it's a wrap.
Well, how many games would that be? So let's see, standings. Because I need to see where they are versus how many points back and all that jazz. They are 12 points back. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. I think you might be right because they're 12 points back of Boston, and Boston still has 3 games in hand.
And Boston are on a hot streak. They're playing really well.
So, they could be upwards of 18 points ahead of the Flyers.
Yeah,
3 games in hand.
Catch them.
So yeah, that's who they're chasing after because they're 17 points behind Pittsburgh. So yeah, I mean it's a rough go of it. The only thing that I could see coming at the trade deadline is the reason Giroux wouldn't leave is only if like he's got a kid here, maybe he doesn't want to move him. This is his home. I mean, Philadelphia's his home. He's been here his entire career. But I think no one would get angry if he were to leave to win a cup because he deserves it. I think if he wins a cup, that cements him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and especially if he's able to like pick up the point scoring somewhere else, which I think he can really do. If he's able to get to say 1,000 points, which may be a little bit of a stretch, I think you could definitely give him the case of getting into the Hall, considering how much
the way he's been playing, he might be able to reach it.
Yeah, it's certainly not out of the question because it's not like he's really slowed down, and you have to consider he hasn't been playing with the best of players. Even when the Flyers have been good, you've kind of been more of a gritty team that really isn't high scoring. Like you more have like 420 goal scorers than 140. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which I think is better anyway because depth scoring is so important in this league. In his career, he has 889 points. So yeah, I think if he plays 2 more seasons, he could reach 1,000 points because he's been putting up, he has 31 points this season, which is actually kind of on the lower end. But I mean, the Flyers just haven't been scoring goals this season. but he's still been playing well. I want to bring up, here we go, stats. Yeah, so the past couple of seasons, he had 43 points last season in 54 games, 53 points in 69 games, 85 in 82 games, 102 in 82 games, 58 and 82, 67 and 78. So he's, aside from a couple seasons, he's just under a point per game.
Yeah, and I think like him and Backstrom, I think are similar players, and I think it's shown like the difference in like the surrounding cast because Backstrom is around.
Ovechkin. Backstrom has Ovechkin.
And he has 985 points, but I still think he's a very underrated passer in the league because like people like when you're facing the Caps, you know you have to watch the one timer, yet Ovi still scores it over and over again. But yeah, I think Backstrom's a better passer, but in terms of goal scorer, Drew's the better, and he's the better goal scorer because I think his game is a little more faster than Backy's is.
So I was listening to I'm trying to see. Backstrom has assisted on 36% of Ovi's goals. And Ovi has assisted on 40% of Backstrom's goals.
And
but
if you
just,
think
just for comparison, Backstrom has 258. Ovechkin has, oh, this is outdated too, because this is September 25th, 2021.
Yeah, Ovi has over 700 plus.
Yeah, in this it says 730.
Yeah.
Which this, like I said, this is out of date. This is September 25th of 2021. So
but even then, I think it still shows because like the scouting reports on the Caps really hasn't changed too much over the years. I think it's shown how good both of those players are because like when people are trying to get on Ovi, like his detractors typically say the same things, which he's more like he's a one-trick pony, they say, but the fact that he's still able to score when
he's a one-trick pony that no one can stop.
Yeah, because that one trick is his shot.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he's got an absolute cannon.
And he's shown that he's still a really good skater and he's able to pull out some fancy dekes when he needs to. So
I was listening to this podcast and they were saying that they were talking and they were going over like trade situations and everything because obviously they're aware that the Flyers are essentially out of it. The math is borderline impossible at this point. So they were talking about it and he agrees. He does not believe that Ristolainen should be gone. He also wants to see Ristolainen get re-signed at the end of the season because he really embodies the definition of the Broad Street bully. So he's
a Philly type of player.
Yeah. He also thinks that JVR should be gone, but he was saying that so every team, every NHL team should have a mix of you got your older guys, you got your middle-aged guys, you got your younger guys. So like the Flyers, for example, the younger guys, you got Cam York, you got Joel Farabee, who else? You got Morgan Frost in there, like the players around there. And they got to be helped by those older guys where you got like Kevin Hayes, who is, I believe, 29, JVR, who's up there, but I don't think JVR will be a Flyer much longer. Sean Couturier, who's in his 30s, Claude Giroux, who's in his 30s. And then the middle group's kind of got to be that like meshing ground. You got Travis Konechny, Ivan Provorov. Ryan Ellis is part of that older group. Travis Sanheim is going to be in that middle group. He's young to middle. Scott Lawton is in that middle to older group. Like, so you got to have a well meshed and well put together set of those three groups of players. So, which I think they do have now. The injuries aren't helping, but I think they do have a well put together mesh there. I was listening to them and they were just talking trades, like coming up with totally outrageous trades that are ridiculous. And the one he brought up that I think is interesting that I have no even imagination of this possibly happening, but he said sending out like a first round pick and then Ivan Provorov and like Travis Konechny and like Morgan Frost for Mitch Marner.
What the heck? And you're not even gonna get rid of Giroux. What?
Well, no, I think they're just saying like because Giroux, I think they can just get a straight up first round pick for.
Yeah, you could get a first round pick
At the rate he's playing. They could just get
if
a
you
straight.
put him, say, on Colorado, who I think is really lacking that veteran experience. I think Colorado could be a good spot for
Which
him.
I'd be okay with that because that's a totally different conference. So
yeah. So maybe a team like that who they feel are like a player like that away from a cup.
Yeah.
Or at least a cup run.
Dude, imagine Claude Giroux next to Nazem Kadri. Like Kadri's fifth in scoring already. Imagine putting Giroux next to him.
Guess what? Kadri, wasn't originally chosen to be on the All-Star team. I believe he was last man in, but that's still insane.
Yeah. And he's fifth in scoring in the league.
Yeah, or imagine Claude Giroux on the power play with Tavares, Matthews, and Marner.
Oh my gosh. Dude, I don't think the Leafs can afford to bring in Giroux.
They couldn't, but looking at what the Tampa Bay Lightning did last year, I think anything's possible.
Yeah, and then another one he said was bringing in Jacob Chikrin from the Coyotes, who's a young defenseman. He was a first rounder. That one I know a little. I don't know as much on. That's a little.
I've heard the name, but I'm not.
I've heard the name, but I don't know his background, game. How well he played. Yeah, I don't know his game, so I can't speak to that one. But what would you do if Mitch Marner got traded to Philly?
Laugh knowing that you guys still wouldn't be a good team for a few years. I just think it'd be ridiculous.
I'm sitting here like it's hard to imagine Giroux in a jersey that isn't orange.
But he's going to be next year, I think.
Probably, but it's hard to picture him in a jersey that isn't orange. Like, when, dude, imagine seeing Ovi in like a Golden Knights jersey. Like, that's just hard. You can't picture it.
Yeah, and I think if Giroux's going to be traded, I think it's going to be somewhere out west. I really don't think the Flyers.
Well, yeah, they're not going to trade him to anyone in the East. There's no.
Yeah, I think they're going to be too petty to give him.
But all fans are saying like trade people now. There's no market right now. They need to wait until the deadline. That's when they're really going to get the big bucks because the Flyers right now are on the low ground. They have no traction trying to make trades because
do it during and after the All-Star break. Do it around there, I think, is when it starts to really pick up.
When's the All-Star break schedule?
I think it's soon, but I'm not entirely sure.
I'm pulling it up right now. Yeah, here it is. The 2nd through the 8th, I believe. So I think the All-Star game is the 5th. Who you sending from Washington to the? Oh, they already brought him out, but Claude Giroux is representing the Flyers, which is
Ovi.
Pretty obvious.
Yeah, I hope Ovi goes this year.
You know who I could have seen going?
Who?
Cam Atkinson.
He could have, but considering how stacked the Metro is in terms of like all-stars, like Gensel wasn't there. He was the last man in, and some other players I couldn't see.
Yeah, I didn't think he would. I
couldn't see him being sent. Maybe Carter Hart.
Yeah, Carter Hart. He's been playing outrageous.
Considering how bad the defense has been at points.
That game-winning goal that Carter Hart gave up, Claude Giroux accidentally knocked the paddle out of Carter Hart's hands. The puck went exactly where the paddle would have been.
Just your luck.
Yeah, like it is unfortunate. The Flyers are just really hitting all bad luck at all bad times.
Yeah. And I have something quick to mention for baseball. So I don't know if you remember way back, like a little bit ago, the Rays proposed this idea to split their home game time between Montreal and Tampa Bay. I remember that. Yeah, and that was just shot down, and then it come out that the two like major markets that they would probably look for to start a new baseball team would be Nashville and Montreal. I think that'd be cool if they brought two new franchises into the MLB.
I was just looking at NBC Sports, my team, and they're talking about designated hitter in the NL in 2022. What do you think about the DH?
It should make for some more interesting games. I mean, we won't have any more Bartolo Colon moments anymore, but I think it could be it definitely could be interesting. And I think
Bartolo Colon as a DH.
No,
are you saying the fact that
Bartolo Colon when pitchers hitting and he ended up hitting a homer, not Colon as a DH.
Yeah, that totally threw me off. I was like, why would you have Colon? Like, he hit one career home run or maybe two,
which was one of the best moments to watch. But yeah, I'm interested.
So this says the NL is expected to adopt the designated hitter as part of a new collective bargaining agreement. That's the CBA, which is what they're holding out for right now in the MLB. And then it's just going into what the Phillies should do at DH, which at DH, I think you could see Bryce Harper just being put at DH, honestly.
I wouldn't do that, but considering
because I think
his defense has gotten so much better.
Yeah.
No,
I could see Rhys Hoskins there. I think Rhys Hoskins and Bryce Harper are probably the two top choices.
I'd put Rhys Hoskins because Harper brings something that Hoskins doesn't. Harper has a cannon arm, and you need a cannon arm in the outfield.
And I think I also think something that kind of went unfortunate for Alec Boehm is that man is, I think he's 6'5". He is huge. And so he's just like, he's kind of an oddball out there at third base. Yeah, he's 6'5" and he's playing third base. Like, that's a little much for him. So I think he'd make a good first baseman, being able to stretch out and everything. And then also, like, the Phillies just have players that they can put in the infield at third base. Like, they had Ronald Torreyes there a lot this past season. So, like, they know that they can put people at third base and, like, shuffle the infield around a little if they have to. So yeah, I think Rhys Hoskins would probably be the top player there.
Yeah.
Who would you see at DH at the Nationals?
I can't really see anyone. It'd probably be one of our young guys. Because right now, Bell, he's good defensively at first. He's good enough. Maybe if Zim is around next season, which I don't know,
I can see that.
Putting him at DH, getting him into lineup. But other than that, it'd either be a young guy or maybe a free agent that we've signed.
Yeah, I can see that because
but not Soto because he's actually become very good defensively, and Robles you don't want to take out of defense because that's the only thing he's good at. Like, he can't hit like at all.
Yeah, I'm looking. Oh, that is not what I wanted to do. But yeah, I'm looking at the Nationals roster, and I'm not really seeing anyone who strikes me as who I'd want to put at DH, except for Josh Bell.
But Bell's good at first. It's going to be Zim or a young guy, or maybe Bell if they don't want to hit him at first on night.
But I believe with that is going to wrap up our episode for this week. So you guys can follow our Instagram at BLInTheDC, where you can DM us questions, comments, stuff you want to hear on here. Email us at BLInTheDC@gmail.com. Email us questions, comments, whatever you want to hear on here. You can rate us at Apple and Spotify. Spotify just added the review, so you can now rate us on Spotify. And with that, I believe that is it. So we will see you guys next week.
See you later.